I never imagined the last night I'd see my husband would start with laughter and champagne. The music was gentle, the lights dim, and everyone smiled as if we were frozen inside a perfect photograph. It was our 10th wedding anniversary, and I had spent weeks planning every detail. The restaurant had a private room, the same one where he'd proposed years ago. David had seemed distant for months, but I dismissed it as work pressure. He was a senior architect, deadlines, clients, late-night calls, the usual. Whenever I asked if something was wrong, he would smile and say, "You worry too much, Claire." So eventually I stopped asking. That evening, he wore his navy blue suit, the one I always loved. He looked like the man I had fallen for, calm, charming, dependable. Our friends gathered around us, glasses raised. "To 10 years of love and madness," someone shouted. We all laughed. David smiled too, though it never reached his eyes. Halfway through dinner, I noticed him glancing at his watch, once, twice, then again. When the waiter brought out the cake, he excused himself, saying he needed some air. I didn't think much of it. He often stepped out for a smoke or a call when things got too noisy. But this time, he never came back. 10 minutes turned to 30, then an hour. Our guests began whispering. "Maybe he's not feeling well," someone offered. I tried calling, straight to voicemail. Another attempt, nothing. My stomach twisted. I searched the restroom, the parking lot, even asked the staff if they'd seen him. No one had. His car was gone. At first, I thought maybe there had been an emergency, something from work or family, but there were no messages, no missed calls, just silence. I forced a smile for our guests, pretending everything was fine. But when I reached home and saw his closet half empty, I knew it wasn't. His passport, laptop, a few shirts, all missing. On the kitchen counter, his wedding ring lay beside a folded note. My hands trembled as I opened it. "Claire, I can't do this anymore. Please don't look for me." That was it. No explanation. No goodbye. 10 years of marriage reduced to 8 words. For days, I called his friends, coworkers, even his parents. Everyone was shocked, sympathetic in that hollow way people are when they don't know what to say. The police told me he wasn't considered missing. He'd left voluntarily. "Adults are allowed to disappear," the officer said, his tone flat and rehearsed. Nights blurred into mornings. I kept expecting to hear his footsteps in the hallway, the sound of coffee brewing, his off-key humming, but there was nothing. The silence felt heavier than grief. It was rejection, confusion, abandonment, all at once. 2 weeks later, I got a letter, not from him, but from his lawyer. A notice for legal separation. My hands went numb. I had been downgraded from wife to paperwork without a single conversation. Friends told me to move on, to focus on myself. But how do you move on from someone who never said goodbye? How do you heal from questions that will never be answered? At night, I replayed every moment, searching for clues. The way he'd gone quiet lately. How he'd started sleeping on the edge of the bed, facing away. How he'd stopped saying, "I love you" first. They were all small cracks I'd ignored, believing love could fill them. But maybe he'd been gone long before he ever left that restaurant. By the 3rd week, I stopped checking my phone every few minutes, not because I stopped hoping, but because hope had started to hurt more than silence. The world didn't pause for my heartbreak. Bills still arrived. Work still demanded reports. My mother still called to ask if I was eating. I moved through my days like a ghost, wearing my own face. One morning, while watering the plants David had insisted we buy, I noticed one had started to die. Its leaves were brittle, edges brown. It was the fern he used to care for. I thought about how people are like that too. They wither quietly before anyone notices. A month later, an email arrived. The subject line was blank, just his name. My heart pounded as I opened it. "Claire, I know this is cruel." I couldn't find a way to explain that wouldn't sound selfish. I felt like a stranger in my own life. "I didn't want to hurt you by staying when I'd already left inside. I'm sorry. No return address. No love, David." Just words, cold, final. It didn't feel like closure. It felt like salt on an old wound. I read it again and again, wondering if he was brave or cowardly. Maybe both. Maybe that's the truth about people who leave. They think silence is mercy. After that, I stopped waiting. I deleted his contact, blocked his email. It wasn't forgiveness, it was survival. Healing isn't cinematic. There's no grand moment of release, no sudden freedom. It's quieter. Washing dishes without crying. Sleeping through the night. Not checking the window when a car stops outside. It took 6 months before I stopped replaying that night at the restaurant. I kept seeing his distant eyes as everyone toasted to our love. I still wondered if, while I was cutting the cake, he was already planning his escape. One evening, I went back to that same restaurant. Same table, same wine, same song. The waiter recognized me but said nothing. I ordered dinner and left the seat across from me empty. It wasn't for him. It was for the version of me who once believed love was forever. That night, I realized he hadn't taken my future. Only the illusion of certainty. The months that followed were calmer. I started taking long walks, joined a pottery class, and began writing letters to myself, not desperate ones, but honest ones. Letters that admitted I wasn't okay, that I missed him, that I forgave myself for missing him. Then one morning, a mutual friend sent a photo, David in another city, standing outside a cafe with a woman. She looked kind, ordinary, human. My chest tightened, but there was no anger left, just distance. He wasn't my husband anymore. Just a man who once promised forever and didn't know how to keep it. A year later, I hosted a small dinner at my apartment. Not a celebration, just a gathering of those who had helped me survive. There was laughter again. Not the forced kind from that last anniversary, but genuine laughter that filled the room. At one point, as I poured wine for a friend, I caught my reflection in the window, smiling, calm, alive. For the first time, I didn't see the woman he abandoned. I saw the woman who stayed. That's when it hit me, his disappearance wasn't the end of my story. It was the moment mine began. I didn't get a warning. I didn't get a goodbye. But I got something better, a chance to rediscover myself in the silence he left behind. And somehow that was enough.